Hi, my name's Lindy and welcome to my channel. I hope you are all keeping well in these interesting times of personal and collective transformation of consciousness. Obviously, as part of that change, there are lots and lots of things coming up for people both en masse globally. It's pretty much one thing as after the other, pretty much as I predicted, really since we hit 2020 and hit the ground running. I was saying it was going to be boom, 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 just one thing after another, one thing after another. Really, like I say, until there has been this complete breakdown of the old form of consciousness and the truth is revealed. Not as straightforward and simple as that, because there is a move by more negative energies to kind of play their particular game to influence that consciousness. But from the higher perspective, the spiritual perspective, and the higher timeline that we are now interwoven with Gaia, with Earth, there has to be a evolution, kind of a revolution, you could say, a breakdown of the old structural systems and a revealing of much of what is behind the scenes there for the physical practical changes to happen. And of course we are in the years of physicality now. The metaphysical became real once we hit 2020, and this stuff became, like I say, physical. So that's because the physical higher earth interwoven, let's say, global timeline, one's unique timelines are interwoven within it, became, like I say, it became the here. So people started to become the embodiment of that timeline, particularly once we hit 2020 onwards now. So as part of that, and as you'll notice here, I'm not doing my usual thing of launching the title of this video, because the title of it I will probably have changed by the end of the video. So I'm just going to go with the direct instinct and intuitive kind of channeling from the heart and decide the title while I'm uploading it. So inside people's consciousness, they have, let's say, templates. So these are slightly different from the little road maps that we come in with. So when we come in with our road maps, shall we say, we start as mist essence consciousness, come down into the vehicles of the soul, like dropping down into your car with your blueprint, your road map. You could even say your astrological road map. So let's call it your road map in your car, your vehicle, your soul. And as you drop down into the families and then into your embodiment in your life, your human life and human experience, that you are following a certain, let's say, a certain road map. The templates are not that road map exactly. They are aspects of your own consciousness that are highly influenced or programmed, highly programmable by your environment, by your culture, by your age, by your race, by your life experiences, by the families you're brought up in, by the countries you're brought up in, by the way you're educated, by your peer groups, etc. Absolutely everything. The TV you watch, the music you watch. So everybody has these templates inside them that are highly programmable and influenced by the way we're brought up, basically. And to simplify it, but it's absolutely influenced by everything. So these programmable templates have largely within them embedded programs, some of them not great for you, some of them not so damaging, but also within them beliefs, and much of those beliefs may not actually come from you, but again, you've had that programming since you were born. So the times we're living in now is As people's consciousness is raising from the head, from the programmed mind, the programmed brain, the programmed head, to the portal of the heart, the center of creation, the center of the unified energy, the center of the 0 point field of energy, the quantum field of consciousness, your heart portal. As people make that switch over from the head to the heart, which isn't really an overnight thing, it's a gradual process of evolution called ascension. As people are going through that, these inner programmed templates are really under the spotlight, literally, because as your light quota, the amount of light you hold within your vehicle increases, these templates come under that beam of light. And these templates, like I say, have been affected and infected by many of the things I've just listed at the beginning of the video. And when they come under the spotlight, really that's when everybody's emotions, thoughts, feelings, belief systems come up for question. And this is when people can be horrendously triggered by the challenge to that belief system that they've been programmed with or they've bought into, and horrendously challenged by their emotional response to that, especially if it's been in there, you know, for all their life, for example. So when these come under the spotlight, these templates, as one's consciousness raises and one begins this process, this journey, it's not an overnight thing, as I said, from the head into the portal of one's heart, these templates are literally encouraged to upgrade. So they're encouraged to upgrade by one's inner evolutionary raising of consciousness, but they are also influenced by a multitude of other factors, again, in one's, let's say, normal environment, but also metaphysically. So there are different, let's say, codes and different activations that one can stumble across or tap into quite naturally as part of one's evolutionary journey into the heart, the ascension. And different stages, there are different ones. So if you were to look back on my YouTube channel, as it's an experiential channel and in a way is a template within itself, you will see that at different stages I was talking about diamond consciousness and, you know, talking in different ways as I was hitting those stages. And then these days I'm talking very much about the sun and the Christed consciousness of the sun and the activations from the sun. And the album I bought out with my son, or one of my actual sons, my youngest son, as I've got 2 sons, I've got an older one as well, coincidentally, you know, has the sun solar transmissions all around activations of consciousness, really actually in a musical form of light language, really. That would be the easiest way to explain it. So as we hit different parts of our consciousness, different parts of us awaken within us, and we are able to access more of ourselves as we become more conscious. So these templates, as there are these different influences that stimulate and activate these templates. So sometimes one can have a stimulation or activation to a template by a certain event they attend, or, like I say, suddenly linking in a particular way, quite naturally, having a heart awakening completely on their own, or stimulated by meeting somebody else, some kind of really high level connection or a catalyst, someone that they meet or a series of people that meet that stimulate this. So once these templates get fired up, they are literally, let's say, upgraded, and I call it weeding out the garden. So as one goes through that process, the templates become more refined and you start to integrate more of the fullness of your own consciousness that hasn't been programmed, or isn't entangled in belief systems at that point, you become more of your, let's say, true consciousness, creator consciousness, Christ consciousness, unified consciousness in a neutral, balanced state of energy. So these templates, they come up under the spotlight inevitably with everyone as you go through the journey. And these templates, you can also, let's say, everything's happening internally, but just to explain it, I keep saying internal and external just to explain it. So you can be influenced and then become the embodiment of an external template. So say, for example, the template, one of the Ascension templates to do with the balancing of masculine, feminine, coming into a more conscious energy field, coming into the heart, for example, the twin flame template, one can, let's say, imprint upon that, stimulated by the meeting of someone, or imprint upon it just in one's ascension process. It happens naturally, and become the embodiment of that template, which refines your overall template. You become more unified. It's the easiest way to describe it. So these templates are changing significantly and being upgraded. The biggest one that's being upgraded obviously is one's inner relationship template. That's the relationship of themselves to themselves, themselves to the world, themselves as they interact in the world, themselves to God, source, the universe, whatever their affiliation is there, and themselves to another or others in terms of relationships. So it gets refined. In other words, not just what they want from a relationship, that's only one tiny bit of it, but how they want to coexist within a relationship, what they want to create within a relationship. That level playing field, it really becomes who they are. It's no longer, it only starts with, well, I'm going to say it only starts with wants or expectations. It can start that way, but certainly in my experience, it never started that way with me. That was a byproduct of me starting to come into the heart. I didn't have any concept to look for it. It just happened, and yes, it happened through very, again, high level connections that stimulated that. But then once one is on that journey into the heart, and those inner templates are being refined, there's no going back, because once you've weeded out your inner garden, you're not going to want to go back to a garden full of weeds again, so to speak. So these are hugely coming up, like I say, under the spotlight. Not just that, and one can imprint on other evolutionary templates you eventually become the embodiment of that, the unified, all gets mixed into that unified field, or the state of inner union that you have or become. But also one can imprint, like I say, on these other templates, but one is also, as one goes through this templating process, which is part of it. I mean, I think one of my earliest videos I brought out a number of years ago now was templates within templates, because this channel is entirely experiential. So it may be channeled from the heart, but I've experienced it, lived it personally, usually 99% of the time, but also worked with thousands of people with these things professionally, having worked in the energy field for nearly 21 years, but specializing in this area for just over 10. It'll be year 11 soon. So as one becomes the embodiment of that more neutral, balanced, unified template of consciousness within themselves, that state of unified energy, one becomes a natural templater for others, so that the people in their family, friends, colleagues, out to their village, town, country they live in, and then out to the mass collective consciousness, which means that one, in some circumstances, picks up, I mean, I think to a certain degree everyone picks up on the collective stuff, whether they like it or not. But one is really having the collective imprint upon the template they become, and then they become, let's say, more neutral, balanced and unified as a result of it. So it's like a relay race. It's the gift that keeps on giving. As one becomes more refined in their own templates, friends, family, village, town, mass populations, collective consciousness, imprint on the template just the same way as we may have imprinted on the template to become the embodiment of it. It's like I say, it's like handing the baton on, and then it kickstarts that process for them, for that individual or those individuals to begin their process. So it's an amazing thing. There's no way of getting around it. It just goes with it. Now, if you happen to be empathic, you know, and have other abilities along the lines of intuitive yourself, of course these intuitive abilities go up with these awakenings anyway. Let's say you might be aware of it or feel it even more so, that process is happening, and you kind of get used to it. Where it causes a problem, shall we say, is, like I say, is if your own percentage of your own emotions are involved in what is happening in the collective, or what people are kind of, what you're involved in templating on, or others are templating on you. How can I put it? When one goes into this journey of the heart, when it happens quite naturally, what happens is you get to a certain percentage of your heart energy, and then your heart energy takes over. So by the time you are acting as a template for others, there is enough percentage of you holding, like a conduit, that balanced, unified field. Let's say love, compassion. It's not just that, it's a balanced, unified state of energy. There's enough of you within you doing that. So even if you're not 100% doing it, I don't know anyone that's 100% doing it, 100% doing that, but even if you're enough within there that the heart is in the lead 24/7, you are acting as a natural templater for, like I say, the masses, your family and blood family, soul family, village, town, collective. So it goes with it. Like I say, that it doesn't really cause problems unless your own emotions are tangled up with something that's going on, usually in the collective stuff that you're picking up on, depending on how you're wired psychically or empathically, etc. It's actually a wonderful gift to have and to go for yourself, and to know that you are naturally, it's not something you try at, it's just natural that you're a natural templater for others. You know, it stimulates them to awaken, or stimulates them to go through a process of unification. This is regardless, as if you, this is absolutely regardless as if you have a soul connection or not. That doesn't even come into it. You can be a natural templater for people and not be part of their soul family, or not be connected to them. You can do this. It's not just for your own aspect of same soul or soulmates or stuff like that. It's way beyond that. Of course you can be a templater for those connections as well, but I'm talking the bigger picture here. This is on mass. You are naturally a templater for the for people that are complete strangers or you never met. You would ask why or how that is, because at some level, let's say at the very highest level of mist and essence, before we come down into soul vehicle and experience that way, at some level there is an interconnectedness within all expression of consciousness. So we are all unique expressions of consciousness. Let's say we're on one vast tree, like that amazing tree in the film Avatar. We're part of one vast tree, and we are all leaves, unique leaves coming from that tree. So if you trace it all the way up, the interconnectedness is there no matter what country, race, culture, age, size, background, any of it. When you trace it all the way up, at some point there's going to be an overlap to coming from there. I mean, that there are slight differences in that. There are people on the earth plane obviously that are let's say not coming from there, and you know, coming from elsewhere, shall we say. But even then, you know, within ourselves, within our aspects of so-called junk DNA, which isn't junk at all, we have aspects of our starseed consciousness. So many civilizations are sisters, brothers, cousins as well, that interconnect on those levels. So obviously, as one goes through an awakening ascension process towards unity and the unified state of one's being, these different aspects of their own consciousness become reachable for them. They just become more aware of them and are able to tap into them. So these are the extraordinary times that we live in, and it's an amazing thing because, like I say, it is a gift to be able to help people in that way whilst also going through your own process, and it's just something, you know, to think about. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I'm going to go straight on and record a long overdue video for my dear patrons on Patreon. So on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. Like I say, look after yourself. Feel with your heart, trust your gut instincts and intuition, and take care. And like I say, I'll be back up on here. I don't know, I usually do this very instinctively, probably sooner rather than later, but we'll see how it goes. Until then, take care, loads of love, bye.